the order's in effect. And Melton and Nick aren't doing great jobs of showing they're not harassing people because they can't quit talking about Aaron.
Talking about someone, even with a massive frequency, is not harassment, you fat loser. I don't know. Like, he knows this. I know he knows this because he is a defense attorney. He has probably had to deal with this a ton of times. He would never go into court for a client and be like, you know what, Your Honor, my client does talk a lot about someone. That's not harassing behavior. It's not in any state harassing behavior. He is lying, and it's embarrassing because there's no reason for him to lie about this. Focus on the things that you think might actually be harassing behavior. But they can't stop talking about him. I don't talk about Aaron on this show pretty much ever, unless someone brings it up in a super chat or super tip. And I typically say this show isn't about that. I wouldn't be talking about it now, except for Sean's analysis is so embarrassingly bad, it should be thrown in the dumpster where he normally shops for sandwiches. And when I heard it, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But let's just get right out the gate. Well, he can't stop talking about him. There's a First Amendment. Aaron's issues are a national news story. They're on nationally syndicated Fox, NBC, ABC channels. They've been covered by people like Anna Kasparian. He's interviewed with Alex Stein, who's from Blaze. Like, these are on nationwide news channels. Anybody has the right to talk about this. Anyone and everybody. Same with me, by the way. Like, I am for the purposes of all of my criminal antics, right? I am a public figure in those things. It's pretty much open season. There's not much I can do to stop anyone from talking about me. Not that I would typically try or have tried. That's just how it goes. It's part of what happens when you become a national news story, whether you want to or not. Sorry, now people can talk about you, and they can talk about you a lot. They can make tons of videos about you. They can write letters. They can create poetry. They can write music about it. They can write a fucking sonata dedicated to your criminal issues, your legal woes, especially once major news networks are covering it. There's no way out of it at that point. And this idea that this guy, gas station Santa Claus here, will sit and unironically be like, well, they're talking a lot. They can't stop talking about him. You don't have to. In fact, he tried to get that in his restraining order, and the judges, 2 different judges, independently said no to that request. That's how bad already his analysis is. In the broadest sense, in the easiest thing to get on earth, which is an ex parte restraining order under Minnesota law, all you have to do is go in and allege sufficient facts with no basis, just the allegation, allege sufficient facts to say this person might harass me, and I'm going to ask the court to intervene because it is interfering with my life. And it's an exceedingly low bar. The judges still both said, no, we're not going to stop them from talking about you. So straight out the gate, he has this evidence at his grease-filled fingertips, just sitting there waiting. Like, the judge disagrees with you. The judges already disagree with you on the speech thing. And that's before anyone steps foot in court and says, now wait a minute, this isn't true. The respondents haven't gotten to respond, and the judge still said no. And Sean is here. He's like, they just can't stop talking about him. The judges clearly don't care about the speech. What the judges did was issue restraining orders from contact, through communication, and from physical proximity. Why? Because if someone requested this restraining order, they didn't do it, and then someone gets shot or stabbed or, pegged or whatever, then the judges would feel bad. Their conscience would be. So if they put the restraining order out, this presumably will allow the person a little bit more of an ability to protect themselves by calling the cops, saying, "Hey, I've got a restraining order against this person. They're here. I'm afraid of them. Just please come rescue me." Right? Like that's what these are for. Nakadashi Tomodachi, and this guy's a colossal spurg, says, if Sean is wrong, why was the TRO issued? I just went through it. They broadly issue the TROs in Minnesota just to, again, the idea that someone feels unsafe. If they take them at their word and they feel unsafe, okay, fine. But he's talking about speech. The speech isn't the issue. Aaron says he's afraid of me. Like he's afraid of me getting physical. That is actually in his document. He's like, I'm afraid he will get physical, which there's tons of videos out there of Aaron saying he's not afraid of me physically, that he would kill me, that he'd whatever. But apparently he's a giant bitch who's actually afraid of me physically, I guess. Even though I've never threatened him physically or anything like that. It's very silly. Very silly thing. But hey, he wrote it down. And so the courts issue them ex parte to be safe. And then the respondent gets a chance to challenge it. And the chance to challenge it is coming up on the 23rd. But again, we're talking about his statement about speech. He's talking about, because Melton and I apparently can't stop talking about Aaron. Never mind that Aaron has spoken about me almost every day for an entire year and has spoken about me. He has specifically lied and defamed me a whole bunch of times. That said, he's also completely stripped any sort of privacy that I had around certain parts of my life over and over, with no regard for it. And he did it for over a year. And then he's like, well, I guess now everybody should just back off. It's like, wait, you got a year to talk. I haven't had a year yet. Nagadashi says, sorry, but Sean is right on this one. The court agreed and issued the TRO. No, that's the thing. You're missing it. There's a different reason they issued the TRO. It's within the physical fear that Aaron alleges. That's what gets the TRO. And that's what they ordered. That's what they ordered it around. Also, specific text messages to Aaron that he alleges that I sent, which were sent, again, over a year ago. No indirect or direct communications and no physical proximity. If Sean was correct, they would have issued the TRO on speech, on mentions, the thing that Aaron asked for, but he didn't get that. You have to look at what the TRO is for and what was alleged within the document. Sean is also a practicing lawyer. Yeah. So that doesn't make his analysis good. You realize there's a shitload of practicing lawyers out there who have garbage legal analysis. It happens all the time. And it's really weird that people keep doing that. Well, he's a practicing lawyer. He's not. There's a bunch of non-practicing lawyers that are smarter than practicing lawyers. And there's a bunch of practicing lawyers who are smarter than non-practicing lawyers. It doesn't really matter. People's grasp over what the legal standards are, if they even know, is related to their practice area, their experience, their research, and their, like the currentness of their research and knowledge, right? Like, have they kept up with it? Sean isn't a Minnesota lawyer. He could be forgiven for not knowing some of the particulars of Minnesota law. What he shouldn't be forgiven for, though, is misunderstanding intentionally on his stream what harassment is and the court's hesitancy to put prior restraints on speech. It's a direct violation of the First Amendment. And if you think like, well, he's a practicing lawyer, go ahead, listen to him. He's retardedly wrong on this issue, and we'll get to it. We're only 30 seconds in.
Now, what happened in response? Well, good old Frank White. If you guys remember, this is the man who brought us the Watermark defense, the brilliant Frank's motion that just wasn't recognized in its time for the
Frank's motion was not brilliant, but the bases for the Frank's motion were solid. The fact that it was not communicated very well was very frustrating to watch. That being said, a criminal defense attorney who will just let go that a police officer lied multiple times in his warrant request, and that he used non-criminal activity, that he had specific knowledge was non-criminal activity from the entity that would be the enforcement arm of it, that he used that and put that in the warrant request to say, hey, judge, I want to go look for evidence of this crime. But he was told that that wasn't a crime. And he just lied about it. Like, and there's a defense attorney out there saying this is okay. That's embarrassing for Sean. Way more than it's embarrassing for Francis. Nagadashi Tomodachi says, I thought Aaron was more upset that you leaked his messages, photos of him naked in his emails, and turned up to his bar. It's not his bar. It's a public business that everybody is invited to go to. And he wasn't going to be there because he was in jail. That's the weirdest thing. Turned up to his bar. Wait, so like I could just claim something is mine and stop you from going to a public establishment? Like, do you realize the level of stupid that is? And the fact that you're propagating this from other stupid people is it's so strange. Like, any thought through this? Like, you know what? You can't go to the Target in Wilmington, Delaware. That's my Target. I've basically like own it. Like I go there all the time. It's mine. You can't go there. Like, if you talk bad about me, you can't go to that Target. That's the dumbest thing ever. You can't go to this bar. Why? Now, the owner of Stoney's could certainly say these people are not welcome here or whatever. And if they show up, he could say, look, you got to go. You're not welcome here. He has a right to do that. And he eventually said, you should get out. Right. Called Melton. He said to Patrick Melton's face, he says, Aaron Imholt told me you're a pet. Melton says, but I'm not. Like, you understand that I'm not, no matter what Aaron says. And he says, no, he says, you're like, he started to get huffy and angry, and he kicked us out of the bar. Probably because he was so huffy and angry. No one else is huffy or angry, but he looked like he was about to hit Melton in the face. And he probably didn't want to get an assault charge for doing something like that. So he threw Melton out and then asked, I don't know if we, like the rest of us, got kicked out officially or not. But we didn't want to stay at that point. Like, you don't want to do that. That wasn't the point. The point was just to go there and actually just have a laugh at being at a place. It's silly. It's a place that's talked about all the time on Melton's show. So we all just went. And again, importantly, I watched Aaron get arrested. I also knew he was getting arrested, prior to the hearing ending. And so there was no danger that he was going to be there. He lied on his HRO petition saying that we went to this bar in hopes to find him there. Like, we just watched you be arrested in court. Like, we know you're not going to be at Stoney's. So it's a silly thing. Also, Aaron doesn't go to Stoney's. I don't know if you know this or not, but he doesn't go there. It's not that close to his house. There's a ton of other bars that he goes to. Stoney's isn't one of them. They advertise on his channel. It's not his bar. Stop being dumb. I don't know what is wrong with you. I'm not sure about it, but you ate retard pills or something. Your syndromes are going downs, my friend.
Brilliance that it was. I mean, that's really what happened there to Frank White. He was really, the man was ahead of his time. It's just that Judge Wenzel didn't understand. That's what happened, guys.
It's obvious that Judge Wenzel literally didn't understand. Part of that is, that's the onus, I guess, is on the writing, but we didn't really get a chance to fight that much on it. Nagadashi Tomodachi says, you and Aaron broke up. Can't you just move on? Ask that question in the opposite.
Judge Wenzel didn't understand, but that brilliant Frank's motion that Nick totally wasn't involved in. Well, so anyway, yes.
You realize this is another one of Sean's weird things. He knows this. You don't hire a lawyer and then do the lawyer's job for them. You don't do that. So this idea that I hired Francis but I wrote I did all the work. This is a weird conspiracy theory that Sean has pushed from jump, that somehow I'm masterminding all the legal work of all this stuff. I don't exactly know why that's a thing that has been promoted or propagated, or why anybody thinks that that's a good idea. Like, you know, that you can't just hire an attorney and be like, I'm going to take the lead on this, write it down, and have them sign their name. Like, attorneys don't do that. They do their own work, because if they had someone else doing their work, it might not be, the level that they wanted at or whatever. So like, I'm not sure where he's got this and why he's propagating this stupid myth that people can just hire attorneys to basically be an auto pen for them. That's not how this works. He knows this. He's a practicing attorney, allegedly, or whatever. Nagadashi Tomodachi says, restraint presenting at a conference about Aaron. Oh my God. Do you understand first that Hackamania wasn't about Aaron? I think 2 shows or 3 shows of the 7 were about Aaron. The others are about other things. The other events at Hackamania were about other stuff. It's not an Aaron convention. He featured heavily on a couple shows. Yes, of course. He became very interesting to people about a year and a couple months ago, when he started talking incessantly about me and private matters that he'd agreed to keep private. He broke that agreement and he decided to talk a whole lot. And he became very interesting to people. Going and presenting at a convention is, I sat on a show and made fun of a loser. There you go. It happens every day. I don't know if you know this. It happens. People go to shows, people remote into shows, people create shows, people create entire series of entertainment by talking about one person quite a bit, especially when they become a national news story. There is no harassment in going somewhere. Like, think about this. An HRO, by the way, applies in Minnesota. You're in the jurisdiction of the state. I left the state and went about as far away from him as possible and talked about him and made some jokes and told some stories. If what I did is harassment, then what he does is harassment. And that doesn't really make any sense, because what he's doing is not harassment. It irritates the shit out of me sometimes, but there's nothing you can do about it, because you have the right to talk about people. What? Oh, you're an Australian. That's part of the problem. You don't understand freedom.
Now, did he have a chance to talk to Nick in 8 minutes?
Yes. What are you talking about? Yes. What is this theory that this lawyer doesn't do his job? Like, I don't get it. Did he have a... Yes, I oppose the request because this HRO has put a restraint on me, and I don't want that restraint, and I don't want a looming issue where I could be arrested over some loser with a demonstrated history of lying who lied to the court to get the HRO. I don't want that to be the cause of me getting falsely arrested. I don't want to deal with that. So yeah, I opposed an extension of time. You asked for this thing. I got a hearing, and then you hire counsel who's not available that day. Oh, that's lame. But hey, the judge disagreed. But yes, he obviously contacted his client and talked to him. Can you not have a conversation in less than 8 minutes? Like, it took 2 seconds. Hey, they want to, he says he's not available. Tell him to off, oppose it immediately. But we had reasoning to do so. Again, I'm a person who talks for a living. This is a subject that I sometimes talk about on my show or on other shows. And so, it would be nice to not have a restraining order, especially when the restraining order is based on false shit. Did he have time to talk to him in 8 minutes? Yes. It takes 2 seconds to say, oppose it. Okay.
Just courtesy as between attorneys generally dictates you won't get in the way of this. And that's just common courtesy, because if
it's kind of a common courtesy, except when the parties may have a history, especially where one of the parties has a history of doing all sorts of questionable shit to the other. The other may not be willing to give even a millimeter, which is just larger than what he's familiar with.
If you oppose it, well, you're kind of acting like an asshole.
Yes.
And
100%.
that looks bad to the judge, but also looks bad to opposing counsel in the future because let's say something happens.
It looks bad to opposing
something
counsel.
happens like his.
It's such a weird thing. It looks bad to opposing counsel. You should know I will be a monster in court if I have to be. This is retarded. This should have never been granted and it won't stand. And your client is horrifying. That said, yeah, I'm not going to be fun to deal with on this. I'm certainly not. And the settlement offer because Aaron did a settlement offer, even though he's talked so many times about like, oh, if you settle, you're a total bitch or whatever. He sent a settlement offer and it's laughable. It's laughable. And it's so nakedly obvious about what he's trying to do. The other thing is Sean probably knows exactly what Aaron's trying to do because Sean is probably having conversations with Aaron behind the scenes about this issue. In fact, maybe that's why Sean is such an apologist for this HRO,